Exclusive. CGN Ariwola disguises on wheelchair London hotel for secret meeting with Bola Tinubu. Welcome to the news and thank you for tuning in to listen. Please subscribe to our channel. To get notified when we post hot juicy news updates, please click on the notification bell. The Supreme Court source said Mr. Ariwola went to meet Mr. Tinubu to discuss issues that may arise from the budding legal challenge to his declaration as president-elect. Chief Justice Olukayode Ariwola has been cited in London pretending to be a physically challenged old man, People's Gathered Land today. What Supreme Court sources said was a clandestine preparation for a meeting with President-elect Bola Tinubu. Mr. Ariwola's movement was exposed to the Gazette as Mr. Tinubu was arriving in London for what his team claimed was a relaxation trip after a hectic campaign that preceded his declaration as Nigeria's president-elect last month. But Mr. Tinubu kept his trip to London secret until it was exposed on Wednesday afternoon by Sahara reporters who said the trip was a medical emergency. The Gaza lander Mr. Ariwola departed Nigeria on March 11th via Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport to Abuja. He was pushed in a wheelchair through the terminals to board a British Airways flight, as sources said. Upon arrival in London, Mr. Ariwola, 64, was also wheeled into a hotel downtown where he has remained ever since. But immediately after checking into the hotel, Mr. Ariwola abandoned his wheelchair and started moving around the facility unaided. The Supreme Court heard he is not known with any physical disabilities. He has been moving about in the hotel without any wheelchair. A source familiar with the CGN activities at the London accommodation told the Gazette. He was standing on his own in the elevator just yesterday. The Gazette learned that Mr. Ariwola repeatedly picked up food ordered via delivery services at the mid-level lobby, including Uber Eats and Deliveroo. It was unclear whether or not he placed the orders by himself or how he paid. With Mr. Tinubu now in Europe, he will be meeting Mr. Ariwola in a secret arrangement to discuss issues unknown to Nigerians, as also said. The CGN deliberately left the country more than a week ahead of Tinubu to avoid any suspicion about why both of them disappeared at once. A source familiar said that is why he traveled secretly and Tinubu also traveled secretly. Shortly after Mr. Tinubu's trip was reported, his media aides issued a statement saying he was going to be Paris and London briefly before heading to Saudi Arabia for prayer rite. His return date was not disclosed. But many Nigerians expressed immediate doubts about the statement's credibility, especially as it was not volunteered before the trip was uncovered. They thought that they could secretly move the president-elect abroad without anybody knowing about it. A source said, that is one of the several mistakes they made on this matter. Aside from the belief that they could allow the Chief Justice of Nigeria to move about in London hotel for several days undetected after going through the trouble of disguising him in a wheelchair. The Gazette has temporarily withheld the CGN photos on the specific hotel he stayed in to protect a source central to his story. The Supreme Court source said Mr. Ariwola wanted to meet Mr. Tinubu to discuss issues that may arise from the budding legal challenge to the declaration as president-elect, including whether or not he should be worried about the petitions recently filed by opposition parties. The CGN would either assure Tinubu of victory and court to tell him that he should be worried about the dimension the petition will take through the court stages. The source said under anonymity to avoid facing administrative action for divulging privileged information to reporters, but we may never know what they actually discussed after the secret meeting. I'm reluctant to start thinking about their meeting right now, the source added, but any fair-minded person would easily admit that both of them met in a foreign corner to discuss something that Nigerians will not know about is highly suspicious and should be unwarranted. Brazen partisanship. First the second-day spokesman for the Supreme Court apparently hung up when the Gazette requested comment about Mr. Ariwola's secret trip to London. The National Judicial Council declined comment about Mr. Ariwola's suspicious activity. Mr. Tinubu's spokesperson also declined comment on Thursday afternoon. Mr. Ariwola's apparent affinity with Mr. Tinubu has continued despite the ranging challenge to the declaration of Mr. Tinubu as president-elect and the ultimate role the Supreme Court is expected to play in the legal battle. The two main opposition candidates, P2B and Atiku Abubakar, have this week filed petitions against Mr. Tinubu's emergence, saying the process that led to the decision of the electoral office, INEC, was fraudulent and unconstitutional. Mr. B, the Labour Party candidate in the February 25th election, also sought disqualification of Mr. Tinubu on the grounds of his involvement in illicit narcotic dealing in the United States between the 1980s and 1990s. As Nigerians debate the strength of both petitions against Mr. Tinubu, they are also voicing an even more critical concern about the credibility of the Supreme Court as an arbiter of untainted justice. Besides, the court's recent contention judgment that severely blunted the court's reputation, chiefly the decision to return Hope Uzodinma as the governor of Imo State coming forth in an election and enforcement of Ahmad Lawan as APC candidate in Yobe North Senatorial District despite not participating in the primaries. Critics are also saying Mr. Ariwola's conduct has done little to inspire public confidence in the Supreme Court under him. In November 2022, Mr. Ariwola openly praised Seyi Makinde for working internally to sabotage the candidacy of Mr. Abubakar. The Supreme Court denied Mr. Ariwola's statement, but video evidence contradicted the denial. Mr. Ariwola was later questioned by the State Security Service, which feared the comment could threaten the country's stability. Still, both Mr. Ariwola and the Supreme Court have repeatedly assured Nigerians that justice will be dispensed fairly as dictated by the Constitution. A spokesman recently said Mr. Ariwola could be expected to dispassionately empanel justices for Mrs. Abubakar and Obi's petitions when they get to the Supreme Court later in the year. Now, let me talk to us. First of all, is this legal? The Supreme Court should make sure they don't play into the hands of Nigerians. So, a lot of Nigerians on this matter waiting hold their sanity now because their candidates say make them calm down. If their candidate not say make them calm down, they will shut down this nation. Remember when I used to tell you people that I used to tell us that one day it will get to a point where everybody will say, damn the consequences. You don't care what happened to us. And they're going to start the one way pass incense. Do you understand? If BAT can fake bishop and clergyman, I'm not surprised. A new Colombia in the making, zombies on stable mental state. Nigerians used to have good mental psychologists. These days, them too, don't they match checking point. I don't tire. People guys that you guys should at least soft pedal on the propaganda in this new dispensation. Soft pedal. Now, if this news is true, which I strongly believe because I know what both parties can do, the Supreme Court has forever been left questionable. They have never given citizens that assurance that they can actually do their job very well. You understand? They are always looking for something to moist the hands, which I don't know. Which is not supposed to be. The corruptible judge, they have started, well, let us not jump into conclusions, even though my mind is telling me this doesn't look good. But justice can be delayed, but cannot be denied. But also, delayed justice is justice denied as well. Let's keep watching this movie, APC, and the Supreme Court is playing for us. Okay, on those notes, you have come to the end of the news. We say thank you for turning in to listen. Until I come your way next time, enjoy the rest of your day.